wait another couple of minutes for a few more people to arrive. Whilst we're waiting, or I'll just move the bin out of the way. Just make sure you've got some water. It's always good to stay hydrated. So then will that come? So whilst we're just waiting for everyone to arrive, just roll our shoulders a little bit. Just warm them up a bit, and the other way. Shake out your hands in case they're tense. Okay, let's get started, and then as people arrive, they can just join in. So, like always, we're gonna swing from our hips and just let our arms be nice and relaxed and floppy. So they're gonna make sure you're not too close to anything that you can smack your hand on. And the reason we're doing this, it's partly just to warm up our body, just kind of oil those wheels or whatever. But also just to get the blood pumping and just generally kind of warm us up, really. Sometimes it's hard to sort of find that energy, so you kind of create it. I'm a little bit stiff this morning, so I can hear everything kind of creaking away. But that's, you know, well, it's not good, but if you are feeling stiff, it is good to kind of push through this and warm everything up. Okay, and then just shake it out. Okay, we're gonna imagine that we're eating a really, really big toffee, and so we're just gonna chew it. And it's so big. We want to try and avoid our jaw going side to side. That's never good, sort of more up and down. But then with our lips and our mouths and everything else is where we're just so that it's just a kind of fun way of kind of warming up your face and stretching it out. Shake it out. Okay. So now we're gonna do another exercise that we always do. So basically, for anyone that's new, the way we want to think about our breathing in these sessions is kind of the reverse of what you would normally think. So normally if somebody says take in a deep breath, people go, but that's, I mean, it's not wrong, but what I would do is, the first thing I would do is to breathe out, to make sure there's plenty of room in my lungs, and then drop the diaphragm. So the diaphragm is this big muscle that sits just under your rib cage. If you sort of trace, you can find your ribs, that's where your diaphragm is. And that's the muscle that we use to breathe. It pushes up for the air to get squeezed out of your lungs, and then when you relax, it drops down and the air sucks back in. So the way we want to be thinking about our breathing, instead of the effort being taking in the breath, you want to use all the effort to push the breath out, and then when your lungs are empty, all you need to do is relax, and the diaphragm drops back down, and sort of like a syringe, all the air will just suck back into your lungs automatically. So I say all you have to do is relax, but as we're kind of discovering as we go on this journey, relaxing isn't that easy. Your body holds on to tension, and sometimes you don't even know that you're tense if you have a particular tendency for any specific muscle, like one of mine anyway, is that my shoulders raise, and sometimes if I've been in this sort of position for such a long time, this then feels comfortable, and when I sort of correct it, then that feels uncomfortable. So you don't always know when you're relaxed, so you know, it's a training really to get your body used to how everything should feel. But in these sessions, I want you to be concentrating more on pushing the air out. That's where the muscle is working to push. And then when the air's going to come back in, you're just going to try and just relax. Diaphragm's going to drop, and you know, your tummy will expand a little because the diaphragm is kind of falling down, but also, you know, obviously your rib cage as your lungs are filling with air. So what we're going to do is, while sort of thinking about that, we're going to get into a little rhythm of just bending and straightening our knees. So we're going to start with our feet facing forward, hip distance apart, and the way that you find your hip distance is by digging around, find that hip bone on both sides, then with your index finger kind of point down, and then you want your big toe to be sort of just underneath your finger, like where your hip bones are. And you want to try and have the weight kind of equally distributed between your big toe, sort of the outside of your foot, and your heel. And your legs are going to be kind of straight, but not too straight. We don't want anything locked so tight that it causes tension. And we're just going to sort of bend, those clicks, just going to bend and straighten, bend and straighten. And whilst we're doing this, we're kind of just in our mind's eye trying to picture our lungs with the air being pushed out, and then relaxing and dropping, and the air coming back in. So we're not going to consciously go to take the breath in, we're just going to let the diaphragm drop down, and the air will suck back in. We just get into our little rhythm, and we're going to add some arm movements that are going to reflect what's happening. So if you keep doing the bending and the breathing, and I'll just show you, the hands are going to come up, which is going to represent the diaphragm pushing up, and then we're going to open the arms out, which sort of represents as your rib cage expands as the air comes back in. So breathing out and breathing in. And all the while, I just want you to kind of be trying to picture in your mind's eye what's happening inside your body. If you're squeamish for that, you can think of your lungs as balloons or something like this. And if you're unable to, not everyone's able to kind of picture things in their mind, but that's okay, then you probably need to rely a bit more on how it feels doing these arm movements, and just whatever you can do to kind of connect your conscious thought with what's physically happening in your body, all kind of helps to kind of make it all happen. And you, at this point in time, you know, if we're fully trained, we hopefully don't need to think about any of it, but right now we just want everything in our mind as well as our body to be on the same page and working towards doing the same thing. Going to go to the side. Very good, and shake it out. Doing this kind of shaking everything out is quite a good, if you haven't got much time, if you're like going to a job interview or something and you're just feeling a bit tense, it's quite good because it's non-specific and you can maybe tailor it to whatever your personal needs are, but it does just kind of get everything just kind of shaken out, which is always good. And it's always good to stay as hydrated as you possibly can. It's a bit of a myth that if you drink more water, you'll go to the loo more. If your body is nice and relaxed, then when you go to the loo, you'll get everything out. If you're holding on to tension, then sometimes you don't fully empty your bladder, and that's why you need to go to the loo so much sooner afterwards. Whereas if you can stay hydrated, it helps you relax. And so, obviously within reason, but to some extent, if you drink plenty of water, it doesn't necessarily make you go to the loo that much more if you're able to sort of control how everything else is working. Anyway, okay, so we're just gonna be in our position, and by that I mean for most people it's probably gonna be standing up. Like I said before, once you have been doing all these exercises for a few years, you can hopefully be in all sorts of different positions. Trained opera singers will train for about 6 years, and they could, if you ever see an opera, they'll be in all sorts of funny positions and dancing, and they'll still be able to just sing absolutely perfectly. That's obviously really advanced. What I find as well when I'm sort of helping other people is like we get to a certain stage, let's say you're always standing up when you do the exercises, and it's starting to become a bit ingrained. And then I say, now sit down and do it. And it's like everything goes out the window because you're so used to doing it in this position. And that's okay. If you want to mix it up when we do these sessions, that's great. That will help you. It might sort of take a little bit longer in each position because you're not doing it as much, but that's good. But what I would say is if you know what you want to get out of these sessions. So for example, I know there's a couple of people who are singers and they usually stand when they perform. So then, stand, get it into your body in the position that you're going to want it, and then in time you can also do it sitting and gradually, build and expand. It's obviously better the more different positions you can be in, but I know somebody else who's a pianist and wants to sing a bit whilst they play the piano. So for him, I would say, sit at your keyboard and do the exercises there because that's what's most useful for you right now. So, just whatever works for you is good. I'm going to talk it through mainly for standing up, but, if you need to be in a different position for any reason, that's absolutely fine. So, we're going to be hip distance apart with our feet, toes kind of pointing forward, knees slightly relaxed. If you are sitting down, please don't cross your legs and try and just have relaxed legs as well, so you're not sort of holding your knees together or anything like this. If you like to wear sort of short skirts, it's not really great for your posture when you're sitting down because you want to hold your knees together, or cross your legs. Ideally, in general, actually, slightly looser clothes so that you're not restricting anything. Like I touched on already, it's not just sort of, obviously it's your rib cage that's expanding when your lungs fill with air, but as your diaphragm drops, sort of this can come out a bit too. Any clothes that are too tight are potentially going to restrict you being able to use your full lung capacity. So just be kind of mindful of those sorts of things. Like everything's always a compromise, but just kind of be aware. Okay, so we're just gonna have our arms loosely by our sides. We don't want our elbows turned in like this. They would be that way around, but just relaxed. Imagining the string coming out of the top of our heads so that we don't want our head too far down, we don't want to be looking up. If you find a spot that is roughly eye level that you can look at, if you're able to be doing this in the mirror, even better, because then you can look into your own eyes and just be aware, all the bad habits creep in, so whatever your particular tension points are, like I said, for me, one is my shoulders, so I have to constantly be just reminding myself, are my shoulders up? Let me just relax those. And ideally you'll be going through your whole body a bit anyway, but just trying to make sure you're not using any muscles that you don't need to. And we're just going to breathe again. This time we're going to breathe out of our mouth, in and out of our mouth. And we're going to channel the breath towards the spot that we've chosen. imagining that's sort of like our audience if we were on stage. And we're just gonna channel, just breathing out towards our spot. And when we get to the end of the breath, we're gonna just try and squeeze a little bit more out. Sometimes it does help to put your hands on the bottoms of your ribs, because especially if your diaphragm isn't that strong yet, you can just use your hands to help squeeze out that last bit of air. And you'll be surprised, you know, quite often people think they've got no air left. And I say, bit more, and they're like, I can't. And I'm like, well, how did you say I can't if you didn't have any air left? There's almost always a bit of air left. So we want to just try and get all of that out. And then ideally, if you're able to, once your lungs are empty, we're just going to hold it for as long as possible, really. And then you're going to just relax. You're not going to breathe in, you're just going to relax. And the air is just going to come flooding back in. And then we're going to repeat. So just channeling the air. You can have your arms by your side or on your rib cage. And as you're doing it, I want you to be thinking about the diaphragm pushing up. If you're not able to visualize that, if it helps you, you can do this arm movement again, obviously slower in time with the pushing, and the air will come in quicker than you breathe out. So we're looking at pushing out the air. Don't try to hold back so that your breath lasts longer. It doesn't work that way. We just want to be trying to push the air out. It will gradually last longer and longer and longer, but we're not really worrying about that. It's not like some competition, like who's got the biggest lungs. We're trying to just exercise them. So we're just trying to push the air out. And obviously it's a kind of stretching thing, so it shouldn't be feeling super easy or comfortable, but you have to be in charge of your own body, especially because I can't be in the room with you. If it's hurting or feeling weird in a bad way, then obviously either stop or just be a bit more gentle. But in the meantime, we're just channeling the air. And then releasing. Very good. And on your next one, I want you to make a humming sound. You can pick whatever note you like, and just whatever you want to do. And we're just still, even though your mouth is kind of shut, so you're going to feel it vibrating in your lips and through your nose, but you're going to just hum to your spot. I like doing this one over YouTube because however many people are doing it, and we're all sort of doing it at the same time but somewhere else in the world, so we're creating some kind of harmony. Good. And all the while I want you to be constantly going through your body. Am my feet in the right position? Is everything relaxed? Am I putting too much weight forward on my toes, or am I leaning back? Am I stood in a nice correct posture? And don't worry, as you go along, the bad habits do creep in sometimes. Sometimes you have a great day, and sometimes, I notice, for me, like, I'm kind of constantly looking in the mirror because I'm looking on my screen, and something I already knew that I do, but I am noticing it, especially today for some reason. My head sort of tilts back. my sort of natural posture, I'm sort of like this. So I'm always having to constantly be aware of that and try and correct it. And the thing is, what I've found is like, if you give yourself a hard time and you get annoyed at yourself, it just makes it worse, because what you're trying to do is get rid of all the tension in your body, but the more angry you get about having tension, the more sort of stressed you are, the more tension gets in your muscles. So you've just got to accept that, you know, none of us are perfect, and sometimes you'll have a better day than others, but as long as you're aware of it and you're consciously just trying to correct it all and doing it through the breathing, just take a moment, you know, it's sort of like a cliche of like anger management, isn't it? Like counting to 10 or something, but it does work, you know. So yeah, just again, try and relax and just let it all go. And you know, sometimes even when you feel like it's relaxed, but because you're so used to being in that sort of less good position, that feels more relaxed. And that's why it does help to be able to look at yourself in the mirror. And it sounds sort of as if you're being vain, but you know, when I was training, and we'd all, as you sort of walk past shops, you just, you know, look in the shop window at your reflection, because sometimes you're kind of surprised how you think you're walking along, you know, with a nice straight posture, but actually you clock yourself from the side, and you know, you're actually like this, or you know, all sorts. Everybody has their different kind of postures for different reasons, and it doesn't matter. You know, you might know what gave you that little quirk in your gait or whatever, but you know, it doesn't matter as long as you're trying to sort of just relax everything, get everything in the right position. And it takes time. You know, if you've spent years or maybe decades for some of you with a certain well, you know, like that being mine, then it's very hard for your muscles to just learn how to, you know, get back into a better position. So don't worry about it, just it's just to be mindful of it and be aware of it. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's just go straight to so we're going to close our eyes, do a little bit of sort of meditation. What we're trying to do is kind of empty our minds of all of our thoughts and the stresses of our week, and we're just going to concentrate on the breathing. We're going to be able to empty our minds of all those thoughts because we're just channeling the breathing. So again, obviously I've said close your eyes, but you can still be going through your body, trying to think of all the different parts and are they nice and relaxed. And we're just going to breathe. And again, I want you to just try, if you're able to, in your mind's eye, to think of that diaphragm pushing up and then relaxing and dropping down. So we're just going to breathe. And whilst we're breathing, we're going to try and listen really intently to any sounds that are outside of the room that we're in. So it might be a bird, it might be a car driving by, whatever sounds are outside of the room that you're in. Still going to be concentrating on pushing up our diaphragm and then relaxing and dropping it down so that the air floods back into our lungs. constantly going to be just going through different body parts in our mind, making sure they're relaxed. And now we're going to come a little bit closer in and listen to all the sounds inside the room that we're in. It might be completely silent, and then you'll listen to that silence. You might have a clock ticking, you might have a radiator buzzing. You're just going to listen for any sounds inside the room. Block out everything else. Very good. And now I want you to take that step one bit closer. So we're still constantly going through our body parts, correcting any bad posture. We're relaxing, we're using our diaphragm to push the air up and out of our lungs, and then relaxing it. As it drops down, the air floods back into our lungs. And now I want you to listen to any sound that your own body is making. You might be listening to your breathing. You might be silent. You might hear your heart beating. All the while just listening to your own body. Very good. And now, whilst we're still thinking about our posture, using our diaphragm to push the air out of our lungs, and then relaxing, dropping the diaphragm, and the air floods back in. We're now going to put those three things together. We're going to listen to our own bodies, all the sounds in the room we're in, and all the sounds outside the room we're in. And we're just going to try and connect through our breathing ourselves, our own bodies, in this space, in time. And I love the idea of we're all sort of breathing together wherever we are. Just relax. Push the air out of your lungs with your diaphragm, and then let that diaphragm drop and the air floods back in. well done. So we're going to finish this session again with our little sing-along. As it's Thursday, because this week we're singing Stand By Me by Benny King. There is a link in the description that will take you to the lyrics if you need them. Make sure you open it in a new tab so you don't lose this session. I'm thinking, so for next week, I'm gonna maybe do a different song. I've not decided what song that's gonna be yet, so if anyone's got any suggestions, leave a comment or send me a message, because I'd love to hear your ideas. But in the meantime, what we want to try and do now is still using that breathing technique that we've been just working on. So I don't want you to just sing. I mean, I do because it's fun and I want you to have fun and stuff, but I also want you to now start, especially if you've been doing it from the beginning, you've had a couple of weeks nearly, so I want you to just start trying to incorporate the breathing into something like singing, so that you can kind of connect all these dots. Okay, I'll give you a little intro. I hope you've found the link, but there are a few links in the description. I should probably say one of the links is to my PayPal. I am doing this sort of like, I'm a busker at heart. Thank you, Simon. I'm sort of a busker at heart, so I generally sort of play for tips, but I want to say, obviously if you can spare any money, that would be amazing, but I really appreciate you just being here and doing this with me. I probably wouldn't have the motivation to do it if I was just doing it on my own. So it really helps me, you just being here, and you know, especially at a time right now when everyone's going through weird financial situations, I completely understand if you're not in a position to give me any money. So don't feel obligated or anything. Just enjoy the sessions, and I hope you get something out of them. And if you can sort of subscribe or tell friends who you think might like it, that's also great. And yeah, so have a think about another kind of sing-along song that we can do next week. Hopefully you now have the lyrics, so let's get started. When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we'll see, well, I won't be afraid, no, I won't be afraid, just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Stand by me. If the sky we look upon should tumble and fall, all the mountains should crumble to the sea, well, I won't cry, I won't cry, I won't shed a tear, just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Stand by me. Stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Stand by me. Thank you very much for joining me. I will be back again tomorrow at 11, and I'm also doing every weekday at 11 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time. So hopefully I will see you, if not tomorrow, maybe next week or at some point. So have a great Thursday, and hopefully I will see you again soon. Lots of love. Bye.